Good morning. So today we're going to discuss the liquid vapor separator. This is also known as the plus distillation. Basically, this will be using the the equilibrium ratio. You can find the material still on chapter 10. This is liquid vapor equilibrium. So basically in the process, some solution, specific solution will enter the equipment. Tapos basically the equipment is a vessel, that is maintained at a specific temperature and pressure. So that the solution will be separated into liquid and vapor components. Parang ganun lang naman, So, I don't know kung ma-encounter nyo na itong equipment na to sa Chicalc or sa ibang courses nyo. So let me share my PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, so we're going to use the equilibrium ratio K, K is defined, or this is equal to y sub I divided by x sub I. So if you still remember, y sub I refers to the mole fraction of a specific component I. Okay, specific component I, mole fraction sa vapor phase or sa gas phase. Yun namang x sub I, this refers dun sa mole fraction ng species I sa liquid, So, yun yung definition ng K, ng equilibrium ratio. So, if we're going to apply Reol's law, this would be equal to P sub I star. Remember, P sub I star is the vapor pressure of pure substance I, at the specific temperature, at a given specific temperature. While P is the total pressure. So, paano ba nangyari yon? So, di ba, alimbawa, pag Reol's law, P sub I is equals to P sub I star times X sub I, So, if you're going to isolate X sub I, so therefore X sub I is equals to P sub I divided by P sub I star. Tapos from the definition of Y sub I, di ba Y sub I naman is equals to P sub I all over P, the total pressure. Tama? Do you still recall these two? Tapos basically what we're going to do is substitute natin yung equation ng Y sub I dito sa definition ng equilibrium ratio, pati yung na-derive nating from the Reol's law na X sub I is equals to P sub I divided by P sub I star. So pag sinubstitute natin dyan, we'll have P sub I divided by P, di ba yung Y sub I? Tapos yung X sub I naman is P sub I divided by P sub I star. So notice that P sub I will cancel out, so that you will have this equation. So ito yung gagamitin natin sa problem. Yung P sub I star divided by P. Of course, yung derivation, kailangan kailangan kaya nyong gawin yan. Kasi most probably makakalimutan nyo itong formula nito ng K. Itong P sub I star divided by P. Ako hindi ko natatandaan to. So diniderive ko lang talaga siya palagi dun sa definition ng K na Y sub I divided by X sub I. So pag nag-ano na kayo, pag nag-CHE133 na kayo, pag nag-CHE134P na kayo, ito gamit na gamit ito. Itong definition na to, So marami pang ibang unit operation na gagamitin ito, equipments na gagamitin ito. Hindi lang sa liquid vapor separator, So kaya kailangan alam yung i-derive itong equation na to. Okay? Okay. So with modified Reol's law, ito mukha nang diniscuss natin last meeting, 'di ba? Basically ang bago lang naman dito, you have alpha times x sub I, 'di ba? Yung gamma pala, Yung gamma palaging kasama ni x. Tapos this is equals to a sub I, So tapos ang modified Reol's law nagiging siya, P sub I is equals to P sub I star times A sub I. No? So notice na ang pag pinalitan nyo lamang yung A sub I, nitong A sub I is equals to gamma times X sub I. Okay? So magka-cancel out pa rin dyan yung P sub I, pero yung matitira tong itong P sub I star times gamma. Kaya ganito na yung equation ng K sa modified Reals law. Na-imagine nyo ba? Na-imagine nyo to? Do you want me to continue this? Actually, di ba pag in-isolate nyo kasi yung X sub I, dali na lang naman, isang step na rin lang naman. So pag in-isolate nyo yung X sub I, you will have P sub I divided by P sub I star times gamma. Kita nyo na? You will have the same Y sub I equation. Ito pa rin naman yan. So pag sinubstitute nyo dito, no? Pag sinubstitute nyo dito, instead of P sub I over P, yung pa rin naman yan, no? Sa Y sub I, yung pa rin yun. P sub I over P. Ang magbabago lang yung ilalim. Yung ilalim kasi, ano na siya, P sub I over P sub I star times, meron na siyang times gamma. So pag nag-cancel out ito, sa modified Reals law, you have P sub I star times gamma times P sub I star divided by P. Nakakasunod? These are basic derivation, ano? So I hope you can follow this at this point. You're in your second year na, di ba? Pero in age, you are, kasi nag-senior high kayo, nasa 20 na ba kayo? Hindi pa naman. Kasi 6, tapos plus K to 12, 6 kayo nag-grade 1, 18, 19. 19? No? So, yun, medyo mature na. Actually, medyo mature na yung mga college student ngayon, ano? Because of the senior high. So, well, it comes with, pag naman kasi medyo mature na, mas maano na rin yung understanding. Mas malakas na rin. Do you get this? So what I'm trying to say, na in reality, nakakalimutan talaga to. Napakadali nitong sabihin. Pag mag-e-exam tayo, hindi naman kayo masyadong mahirapan kasi memorize nyo pa to. Hindi nyo kailangan dumaan dito. Ito rin, memorize nyo pa rin yan. No, hindi nyo naman kailangan mag-direct. Pero in reality, pag magbo-board exam na kayo, nakakalimutan na to. Kaya kailangan yung i-derive from the definition of the equilibrium ratio. Itong equilibrium ratio, believe me, marami pang equipment yung gagamit dyan. Kailangan ma-encounter yan. Kaya may magiging stock knowledge niya yan. Ano? Yung Y sub I, K is equals to Y sub I divided by X sub I. So that's the reason why you need to understand the derivation. Paano kami babayaran? So, equilibrium ratio K, and then one of the equation that we'll be using sa pagsosolve ng separator, no, ng liquid vapor separator are this equation, ano? So, summation of Y sub I is equal to 1. So, di ba pag kinuha niya yung sum ng lahat ng mole fraction sa gas, di ba yung sum nun would be equal to 1. I hope this is obvious to you. Di ba, halimbawa, you have two components, component 1 at saka component 2. So pag pinag-add nyo yung y1 plus y2, di ba equal yun sa 1? So ito lang naman yun, ano? Ito lang yun. I hope this is quite obvious to you. Tapos from the definition, di ba yung definition natin ng equilibrium ratio K, di ba K is equals to y sub I divided by x sub I. So ang y sub I would be equal to K times x sub I. So if summation of y sub I is equals to 1, so therefore the summation of K times x sub I is equals to 1. Diba? And also, it also, ganun din, summation of x sub I is equals to 1. Diba? Dalawa lang yung component nyo. Component 1 tsaka component 2. So therefore, x1 plus x2, remember x and y are mole fraction, no? So x1 plus x2 would be equal to 1. Okay? Any question? Okay? May problema sa online. Hindi ko alam kung may nakikinig pa sa akin. Hindi ko alam kung naiintindihan ko. So, yun. Sasagot lang naman kayo ng okay, yes. So, eto naman, kasi galing din yan dito, ano? Okay, very good, Estelita. So, ito namang x sub I, cross multiplication din lang, ano? So, by cross multiplication, meron na kayo mag-cross multiply? So, pag cross multiplication, kasi di ba, k divided by 1 yan, ano? Parang ganyan. Kasi k divided by 1. So, cross multiply nyo lang. This is basic math, ano? So, you have kxi is equals to y1. Di ba? Tapos, in order to get the equation for x sub I, you just transpose k, ano? So, yun, isa-isa ko lang, ano? So x sub I is equals to y sub I divided by k. And then, therefore, summation of y sub I divided by k is also equal to 1. Do you have any question? So mamaya gagamitin natin itong mga equation na to, no? Especially this one, no? Tapos, ito actually ito yung nagagamit, no? Itong summation of x sub I is equals to 1. Okay, so let's proceed. Tapos sa handbook nyo, may mga handbook na ba kayo? Do you have the handbooks? Do you have the ebook of the handbook? Yan, meron na si Dorothy. Very good. Very good. Meron na si Princess. Meron na si Brian. Okay. Ay nga lang, yung nakalagay ko dito is the 8th edition pa, ano? Most probably you have the 9th edition, ano? So pakihanap nyo na lang to. Ito yung mga value ng k sub I from the handbook, ano? So basically, in order to find the value of k sub I, you need to know the pressure. So this is, we have your pressure in PSI. Sa 8th edition, you can find this on page 13-10, ano? So under distillation. Remember, ang liquid vapor separator kasi the other name for liquid vapor separator is plus distillation, ano? Parang si Plus Gordon, din yung nakalala si Plus Gordon. Yun, parang gano'n, ano? So plus distillation, that's why this is under the distillation chapter. Chapter 13 sa 8th edition. Probably sa 9th chapter 13 pa rin yan. So pakicheck nyo na lang past few pages, browse nyo lang ng konti. Ako noon, hindi naman ako nagmamark ng ng handbook eh. So, pero alam ko, memorize ko kung ano yung mga chapter. Chapter 4 is thermodynamics, chapter 13 is distillation. Ganun lang ako. I'm very familiar with our handbook then. So, hindi ako nagmamark. Pero ngayon, siyempre iba na ngayon. Maybe it's much better, ano? Kasi nag-improve na rin talaga. Medyo mas mahirap na yung board exam nyo. So, yun. Ako, sinasabihan ko sila, ito mag-mark na kayo ng no? So, may nabibili sa National Bookstore, may nabibili sa Shopee na pang-mark. So, bumili na kayo nun. Tapos yung mga yung mga pages na to, i-mark nyo na. Yun nga lang sa 9th edition, medyo merong difference, siyempre. Iba na yung paging niya. So, i-mark nyo na to. This is the case of I. So, basically, hanapin nyo lamang yung pressure dito. This is in PSI. So kung given sa inyo pressure atmosphere, convert nyo sa PSI, tapos hanapin nyo rin yung temperature. The temperature is in degrees Fahrenheit. So i-convert nyo kung degrees Celsius siya. Tapos basically, you just draw a line. Tapos hanapin nyo kung ano yung substance na hinahanap nyo yung case of I. Halimbawa, can you read this? Halimbawa, this the first one, I think this is methane. I think this is methane. Kasi methane, ethane, propane, So this is methane. So halimbawa methane yung Ki ng methane yung hinahanap. Just read, no? Read the intersection with the line. So halimbawa dito bumaksak yung line, yun yung kanyang K sub I. Ganun lang naman, I guess this will be much readable pag sa handbook talaga. Okay, so yun, sa handbook kinukuha yung K sub I. Okay, so that's one way you can read the K sub I from the handbook. And then, of course, the other way is to calculate it from P sub I star. Diba? Ang K sub I is also equal to P sub I star divided by P. Pag ideal yung solution. So most of the time naman, we will be calculating ideal solution. Di ba tandaan niyo pa yung dinerive nating equation? So aside from that table, you can also find K using this equation, P sub I star divided by P. So usually yung P, given yan sa problem, yung P sub I star naman, you can calculate this using the Antoine's equation. Ano? Pwede namang yung Antoine's equation given sa problem, o kaya naman meron din tayong table ng P sub ng Antoine's equation sa handbook. Okay? So, ganun yun. Ano? Okay, any question with this? In CHE 134P will be solving, will be using this chart, no, a lot. So sa ngayon, ano muna tayo, concentrate muna tayo dun sa problem na ano, P sub I star divided by P. Yung gagamitin natin to find K sub I. Ano? If you're wondering bakit pinakita ko lang to, hindi naman ako nag-example. Later on sa CHE 134P will be using this chart. Pero sa ngayon, focus muna tayo sa P sub I star divided by P, way of finding equilibrium ratio K. Okay, so let's take a look at example 10.4. Yung example 10.4, medyo trial and error to. Ayoko magpa-solve ng estudyante sa exam ng trial and error problem kasi parang unfair. No, it's quite tedious. Tapos graphical pa naman siya. So, hindi rin naman 'to lumalabas sa board. Sana naman. No? So, tingnan na lang natin kung paano niya sinolve yung example 10.4, no? So, for a mixture of 10 mole percent methane, 20 mole percent ethane, and 70 mole percent propane at 50 degrees Fahrenheit, determine the dew point temperature. Okay? So, basically, ang characteristic ng dew point, pag sinabing dew point, ibig sabihin itong mga percentages na to, this will be the concentrate dew. Your sample is about to form dew, no? Magiging liquid siya. So, ibig sabihin itong concentration na to are for the gases, for the vapor, di ba? Pag magkakaroon ka ng hamog, ibig sabihin ang given sa iyo ay hangin. Tama? Ang hamog galing lang sa hangin. Parang ganoon, gas yung given. This is itong 10 mole percent gas yan, no? So, in order to find the dew point pressure, so trial and error yung gagawin natin. Makikita niyo. And then letter B, the bubble point. Pag bubble point naman, ibig sabihin it's about to boil. Kukulo siya. So ano bang kumukulo? Gas o liquid? Anong kumukulo? Gas o liquid? AJ. Bubble point, anong kumukulo? Gas o liquid? Nakakita na kayo? Obvious, it's very obvious. Siyempre, liquid. Ganun lang yun. Sometimes asking obvious question. So, just try to use your common sense. Ito naman, so pag bubble point naman, so liquid siya. So, ibig sabihin, itong 10 mole percent methane, ano yan? X yan. Concentration yan sa liquid. Dito sa letter B. Ganun na lang. Tapos magta-trial and error din tayo. Hanapin natin yung bubble point pressure. Let's try to take a look at the K values are given by figure 10-13. So sa Banes meron din table ng K values kamukha nung nasa handbook na pinakita ko sa inyo kanina. So this is the solution. So yung una, dew point. So pag dew point, gas siya. No? Gas, tapos magkakaroon kayo ng hamog, ng droplets. Gas, tapos you're going to form liquid droplets. Para mas, probably I'm trying to droplets. Okay? So that's why kung gas siya, yung given na 10, 20, 70 ay Y sub I. Okay? So mag-start tayo sa 100 PSI. As I've said, trial and error siya. So mag-start tayo sa 100 PSI. So at 100 PSI tapos 50 degrees Fahrenheit, babasahin natin sa table yung kanyang K sub I. So for methane, for ethane, for propane. So ito yung nabasa sa table. 20, 3.25, 0.92. Tapos basically, i-divide nyo itong dalawa. Kasi di ba ang X sub I is Y sub I divided by K sub I. No? Tandaan nyo pa yun? So ang definition ng K sub I ay Y sub I divided by X sub I. So therefore, ang X sub I ay equal sa Y sub I divided by K sub I. Any question dito sa column na to? So divide nyo lang So So 0.10 divided by 20, you're supposed to get 0.005. 0.20 divided by 3.25, you're supposed to get 0.062. 0.7 divided by 0.92, you're supposed to get 0.761. Tapos i-add nyo to. So pag tama yung trial nyo, supposed to be yung sum nito, no? Kasi di ba this is summation of x sub I. So yung sum nito is supposed to be equal sa 1. So since hindi siya equal sa 1, kailangan nyo mag-adjust ng pressure. So kailangan nyo kumuha ng mas mataas na pressure kasi as you can see sa table, doon sa figure kanina, if you're going to increase the pressure, ano nangyayari sa K sub I? Bumababa. Diba? So wag bumaba yung K sub I, katulad nito, tapos Y sub I divided by K sub I, lumalaki yung Y sub I over K sub I. No? So kasi mas maliit yung nakuha nating summation of Y sub I over K sub I. So kaya pinataas natin yung pressure. Okay? Unfortunately, ganun ulit, nung kinuha natin yung sum ng Y sub I over K sub I, lumampas naman siya, 1.174. So ang gagawin natin, kukuha tayo ng pressure between 100 and 150 psia. Yun. Kaya naging 126 yung last trial. Okay? So actually swerte ito, no? Isang mababa, isang mataas, tapos yung pangatlong hula niya tama na, no? So nung kinuha niya yung sum, 1 na. Pero in reality, hindi mangyayari yan, ano? So pwedeng halimbawa nanghula kayo sa gitna, tulad dito nanghula siya. No, ang hula kayo ng 125, hindi yan magiging 1. So i-adjust niyo yung ganap kayo ng bagong pressure. So tedious siya, no? Medyo matrabaho siya. Pero naintindihan nyo, that's the question. Naintindihan nyo yung process. I hope naintindihan nyo. So sunod, yun namang sa bubble point. So pag bubble point, so sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, pag bubble point, liquid, You have a liquid sample. So it follows that yung given na percentages, yung mga mole fraction, would be x sub I. No? So, ganun ulit. Nagsimula tayo sa 380 psia. Tapos we read the K sub I. These are the K sub I. And then Y sub I this time is K sub I times X sub I. Nasusundan ba yon? So, ito, galing yan sa definition na K is equals to Y sub I divided by X sub I. Nasusundan naman, Simple lang naman, di ba? So, therefore, Y sub I is equals to K times X sub I. K sub I times X sub I. So, ito yon. Meron kayong K, tapos i-multiply nyo sa X sub I, you will have Y sub I. So, these are the different, actually, malapit na, 1.017. So, actually, itong 380, actually, pwede na yan. Pero ang ginawa niya, in-adjust niya pa. So, kumuha siya ng mas mataas na pressure para bumaba to, 0.963. So, the answer is between 380 and 400. Pero as you can see, mas malapit siya dito sa 380. So, he tried, Banes tried 385. So, at 385, he got the exact answer, 1.00. So, the pressure is 385 psi. Do you have any question regarding example 10.4? Wala naman. So, let's proceed. Okay. So doon tayo ngayon sa sa plus distillation, calculation. So as you can see, this figure is coming from Aspen High Seas. So in your third year, di ba, second year na kayo ngayon, tuturo na sa inyo yung ginagamit na software sa industry. So syempre sa industry, lesser na ngayon yung manual calculation unless kailangang i-double check, So, we are using a software. So, merong software na pang chemical engineering. Ito yung ginagamit natin sa industry. Halimbawa, nakapasok kayo sa design company. So, we are using a software. This is known as Aspen High Seas. So, yun. Basically, this is the equipment. This is the plus distillation equipment. So, as you can see, may pumapasok dun sa plus distillation na hexane toluene solution. Tapos, we are maintaining the equipment at 80 degrees Celsius, at 80 degrees Celsius and 101.3 kPa. So some part of the solution will become vapor and some part of the solution will remain liquid, So maghihiwalay. Okay, so why do we do this? Sometimes we have a pure substance, halimbawa pwedeng magkaroon kayo ng pure toluene sa vapor. or pure hexane sa vapor, tapos sa ano naman sa liquid, pwedeng ano, magkaroon kayo ng pure hexane. Pwedeng gano'n. Ano? That's why we are using flash distillation column, no, for purification and for separation. Ganun. Ano? So as you can see, kamukha dito sa example na to, ano, you have 54 molar out of 100, 54 moles, kilogram moles yung nag-evaporate. Tapos 45 or around 46 kilogram mole yung natirang liquid, ano? Okay. So anyway, we will do this manually. We're going to calculate plus distillation calculation manually. Pero basically ganun yung purpose niya, no? Meron kayong nagiging vapor, tapos meron kayong nagiging liquid at a specific temperature and pressure. Basically, this is just a vessel. Tapos mini-maintain nyo lang yung temperature at saka pressure. Continuous yung feed, continuous yung dating ng solution, tapos continuous nyo rin napoproduce yung vapor at saka yung liquid. Okay, so let's go to the equation. Again, you can find this equation, no? So medyo mahaba kasi, we'll be using this one from the handbook, no? So sabi ng equation na yan, x sub I is equals to say sub I all over 1 plus b over f times k sub I minus 1. So ito yung equation na gagamitin natin sa manual calculation ng plus distillation column. You can find this equation on page 13-14 sa handbook. Ano? So pag nakalimutan nyo, punta lang kayo sa distillation column, tapos punta kayo sa page 14. Okay, so paki-mark din to, ano, kung nagma-mark na kayo ng handbook nyo. Meron namang nabibiling pang-mark na, di ba, na removable, ano? Kung ayaw nyong masira yung mahal na handbook nyo, no? So pakihanap to. Okay. So before we use this, we'll try to derive this. So in order to derive this, sana tandaan nyo pa yung check-out nyo. Tapos na kayo ng check-out, di ba? So check-out lang yung derivation nyo. So alimbawa, we have the plus distillation column. Okay? So may pumapasok na feed. Yun yung F doon, ano? May pumapasok na feed, F. Tapos mase-separate siya into B, vapor, at saka liquid. Tapos yung pumapasok na feed, ang concentration niya, ang mole fraction halimbawa ay Z, no? Z sub I. Ito yung mole fraction ng feed, ano? Tapos yung concentration sa vapor ay Y, or Y sub I. Tapos dito naman sa liquid ay X sub I. Do you have any question regarding these variables? So kung tandaan nyo pa ang check-out nyo, halimbawa mag-overall mass balance tayo. Basically, ang gagawin lang natin, mag-overall mass balance tayo, tapos mag-component balance tayo. Ano? Component mole balance. Kamukha nung ginagawa nyo sa check-out. So ang overall mole balance natin is F is equals to L plus B. Tapos ang component mass balance naman natin ay F times Z sub I is equals to L XI plus B Y sub I. Do you have any question at this point? Tandaan nyo pa to? Check out nyo? Pala, tinanong ko kayo. Baka namang basic naman to, ano? Okay, very good, Dorothy. Okay. So what we're going to do, as you can see, we're going to derive this equation from the component mass balance. Ano? So, ang una nating step na gagawin, titingnan natin yung mga wala dito. So as you can see, wala tayong sa equation na Y sub I. So we're going to replace Y sub I from the equilibrium ratio equation. So papalitan natin to ng, di ba, ang sabi ng K ng definition ng equilibrium ratio, K is equals to Y sub I divided by X sub I. Since walang Y sub I dito, we're going to replace Y sub I with KXI. Ano? Diba? Y sub I is equals to KXI. So, palitan lang natin itong Y sub I ng KXI. So, ang bago na nating equation ay F Z sub I LXI plus B K X sub I. Tama? Do you agree? Tapos, pag tinignan niyo ulit to, wala siyang L. Wala siyang L, di ba? So we're going to replace L galing doon sa overall mass balance. So ang L, di ba? Ang L ay F minus B. So we're going to replace L with F minus B. So ang bago na nating equation ay F times Z sub I, F minus B times X sub I plus B K X sub I. So yun, we're going to isolate X sub I. So pag pinactor out nyo yung X sub I hope you can follow. Ano? Pinactor nyo yung X sub I, you will have F Zi is equals to X sub I, F minus B, tapos plus KB, ano? Or BK, ano? KB na lang. Mas maganda yung KB. Yun. Tapos you just transpose this to the other side. Itong F minus B plus K over B. Just transpose that. So that, dito na lang, ano? X sub I would be equal to F say I divided by F minus B plus KB, ano? So what's the next step? Para maging kamukha siya nito. What's the next step? Sige nga, Dorothy, what's the next step? Para magkamukha na sila. We're going to multiply what? Factor out yung F. But this one have no F. This one have no F. You cannot simply factor it out. Pero actually pwede. What's the easiest way to do? You mean factor out F. So what's the other technique, mathematical technique para maging kamukha siya nito? Tingnan mo yung ilalim. Ano bang meron doon sa ilalim? Ito, kahit yung taas, yung numerator, ano bang ginawa sa numerator? Anong ginawa sa numerator? AJ, anong gagawin natin para maging kamukha siya ng equation natin sa taas? Yeah, very good, Dorothy. Very good, AJ. Now we multiply yung taas at saka yung baba ng 1 over F. Very good, very good. Very good. Sabi ko sa inyo, dapat marunong kayo mag-derive. Yan yung key. Yan yung key para ma-enjoy nyo yung Chem-Eng. Kasi pag kaya nyo mag-derive, hindi mechanical yung dating sa inyo ng mga problem. Naintindihan nyo talaga. Kaya kahit anong paikot-ikot doon sa problem, kaya nyo siyang isolve. Yun yung key. No? So pag minultiply nyo ito ng 1 over F, says, di ba? This will cancel out, mawawala to. Say sub I na lang yung numerator. Tapos to pag minultiply nyo, you will have 1. Tapos you will have negative BF, ano? Tapos plus K. Di ba? Yung ganyan na yan. Say I, tapos 1 minus B over F, tapos plus KB over F. No? Tapos you just factor out B over F, positive B over F, just like this one. So if you're going to factor out positive K, B over F, yung matitira na lang dyan ay K minus 1. Di ba? I hope you get that these two are the same. Pag pinactor out nyo yung BF, you will have X sub I is equals to Z sub I, tapos 1 plus B over F. Kita nyo ba yan? So this will be negative 1, di ba? Negative 1, and then this will be positive K. Of course, pag pinagpalit nyo ng pwesto itong minus 1 at saka K, that will be the same as K sub I minus 1. Ano? K pala yun. K sub I pala yun. Do you have any question regarding the justification of this equation? May tanong? I hope you get it. Ano? So, ganun din yan. Of course, madaling buksan yung page. Paki-check ha kung sa chapter 9 nandun pa rin to ha. So, kung pag naputol tayo, we only have 1 more minute. I'm going to provide another link. Connect ulit kayo ha. Sunod kasi, magsosolve na tayo ng problem. So, alanganin yung 1 minute. So, I will just provide another link ha. So, putulin ko na muna to. Connect kayo ulit sa kabila.